Greetings. You may be familiar with these jars in front of me. They've been sitting on the counter behind me for quite a while, or jars similar to these at any rate. These are actually vinegar projects that I've been making, and I was just ready today to check them. I believe some of them are ready for me to decant, to strain and decant, and I thought you might like to see the process. It's very simple, but I thought maybe you'd like to see it. But before I start on that, I wanted to say, let me be an example to you. Allow me to make the mistakes so you do not make them yourself. It's not actually maybe a mistake, but I omitted a very important step when I made these vinegars. I did not label the jars. And you would think that was very obvious because I have citrus, which is orange. All of these are orange, I believe. And I have peach, and I have apple vinegars that I have been brewing. And it was very obvious when I started to make them what was orange and what was apple and what was peach. But now that they've done their job and I think they're finished, it's very hard for me to see what they are. So I should, you always label things. People say to label it. You think you're going to know, even when you put food in the freezer or put food, you just don't know. Especially if you do a lot of this stuff often, you don't know what it is. Or you want to put the date in there, because how long ago was it that I did these things? Because I know it's going to take this many weeks approximately. Am I there yet, or have I overgone? Have I over processed something? Or so I just want to do something quick just to show you what I thought you might like to see. Though I believe that the orange vinegar that I made, the orange peel vinegar, the orange citrus vinegar, is finished, and I'm going to hopefully look at that first, and I'm going to drain it. And I believe the peach should be done as well. I believe the apple is not, and I believe the apple is still behind me on the counter. I hope so. Because but we're going to find out when we go to take the solids out. We should have a better look. But the bits of peaches and the bits of peel and the bit where, it starts to look alike. And of course they all smell. You should be able to tell by the fragrance, the smell of it, but they're vinegar. You want it to smell like pretty much vinegar. So I think this is one, and I really want to show you one of these in the front for sure, because I'm very excited, and my chickens are going to be excited as well, because I believe, yes, this is an orange. And I'm going to take off the cloth. I'm going to smell. Oh, it smells so good. It really smells good. But what I'm going to do, I don't think you can see it. Maybe you can. This lighter layer, it's about a 1/2 inch thick or 3/4 inch thick, up to 1 inch. In some places, layer on the top of this jar is a SCOBY. I have made a SCOBY. Well, I didn't make it. This made it. And what is a SCOBY? Well, if you've ever heard of somebody making kombucha or kimchi, a SCOBY is an acronym term for, I believe it stands for, I'm going to have it written down. Yes, a symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. And that's what they use. It's a souring agent that they use to make things that they want to ferment, like kimchi or like kombucha. It happens to be delicious for my chickens. I think it's delicious. It's very good for chickens. It's very good for people too, but it's very good for chickens and does a lot of things for chickens. It's good for their gut health. It's good for preventing pasty butt in the adults. I think I mentioned on another video how I have my hair dryer just for my adult chickens, particularly when sometimes they need to have their butts cleaned, which can be a very serious condition in a chicken, in a hen, or a chicken, I suppose, any chicken. So this helps. It's good for their diet. It will help. Also supports their egg laying. It helps them develop a natural resistance to things like E. coli or salmonella, which can be deadly in chickens. My chickens normally get some kind of apple cider vinegar I put in their feed. I mean, they're not in their feed, in their water. We naturally keep that in there. But this is a little extra, and it's also an extra treat. They're going to love it. So I'm going to try to fish out the SCOBY first, if I can. I don't know if I can get it out on this first. I think it's gonna probably, I was gonna say it's gonna break up. Oh no, it's not. It's just this gelatinous, see that? It's kind of gross. A gelatinous substance that I'm just gonna plop in their little dish. They know these little, this is their dish. They get treats in these all the time. So I'll give that to my husband, and he will, I think we'll probably give it to them tomorrow, but we'll take it out for them. Set that aside. Because I want to be able to get to the actual vinegar. Oh, and it smells like vinegar. How do we know that the vinegar is done? Well, it certainly smells like vinegar, but we're also going to check it to see if we're ready to use it and decant it. And I'm going to check the pH. And I want to see if it's a usable vinegar, which I suspect it is. Is it good for, what is it good for? Now, most homemade vinegars, you can make a vinegar, I said, about just about anything. But homemade vinegars are really not meant to be used for canning. For canning, you need very specific, make sure that you have a specific a specific pH, acidity level for canning. But this is going to be really good for, but you can use it, even if it's not as acidic as you like it, you can still use it for other things. You can use it for cleaning, you can use it for dressings, you can use it for marinade, lots of things like that. You can use it for hair rinses. So I'm just going to take this strip and I'm going to dip it down in here just for a second, and then I'm going to see what color, if I can get it in there, and what happens to it when I dip it. Okay, and see if I can check the pH on it. And I see the pH of this light. Sorry, pardon me for the light. But I'm checking my color against here. And oh my, I see that it pretty much is between I think it's between 2.5 and 3.0, which is actually perfect. That's actually perfect. 2.5 is what the acidic level of apple cider vinegar normally is. It's definitely less than 3.0, so it's in there somewhere, which makes me very excited. So this was a very it's around 2.275. I would think it would be like a 275. So that's really, really good news. So this one is definitely ready to decant. And this is definitely something that I can use, yes, for even cleaning. It's going to be good for cleaning. Let me get that light out of your way. It's a little better. It's just at that time of the day where the lighting is starting to get a little weird. And I'm going to start by decanting, first of all, into this. I'm going to get my solids out of here first. So I'm going to take my solids. I'm going to just dump. Dump through here. It's very gross. Well, it's only gross if you think of it as being gross. And there's another bit of SCOBY that was down below. Put that out of sight there for a while. I think I saw another SCOBY in here. Here's another bit of a SCOBY that probably sunk to the bottom. You know, I was stirring it and it was developing SCOBYs. And it might have just sunk to the bottom. So I'm just going to give this a little bit of a drain. I want to get as much liquid off of this as I possibly can. But then I'm going to, there's a lot of pulp in here because of the oranges. Made an awful lot of pulp. So I'm going to let this drain for quite a while, actually. Not quite a while, but. And I'm glad to see, I could actually see that this really is oranges. I can also pull, excuse me. I have a bowl here. I can actually pull these, take these peels out here. And then I'm going to put this again through a second straining using a little bit of the towel that I use when I do cheese, and to catch all the pulp, because the pulp, I want to use this as a, first of all, I don't want a lot of pulp in my vinegar. Oh, I can see if I squeeze it, I get even more. See, by squeezing these, I get all of the liquid. If I put this in a spray bottle, as it is, the pulp would clog it up in no time. And this helps really take out. Okay, so I'm just hurrying this along just a little bit to get some of these peels out of the way. I'm going to just stir this, try to work the more scobies. This is really a healthy vinegar. I got a lot of SCOBY here. Now there's a way you can use this if you want to make kimchi or to make kombucha, but you have to convert this SCOBY into another kind of SCOBY somehow. But I really don't do that this way. So that to me is not really something I'm interested in doing. But there's information online if you're interested in doing that. Okay. Boy, a lot of... Okay. Okay, so that's about all of that I'm going to get out of there. I have a little smaller strainer. I'm going to put it in a little smaller pitcher here, and I'm going to just transfer this vinegar to here through the towel and try to catch some of that pulp. Okay. Here it comes. And I might want to stir that to help it flow, keep flowing through the cloth. It smells so vinegary in here, it's funny. But it's a nice smell. It's a nice clean smell. And I think it helps to try to reposition the cloth a little bit to a new place on the cloth that is not covered with the pulp. It's possible, actually, I found out that it's possible to just make vinegar out of almost anything. All kinds of herbs and flowers that you grow in your garden. And vinegar is used, and fruits, of course, and fruits, and a lot of different things. And some are really good for, there's different good purposes, uses for each different, depending on what you're making it from. Citrus is excellent for cleaning, of course. Flowers and herbs, a lot of those are really excellent for using in as hair rinses, or, and then of course some are very good for using in, to make for vinaigrette salads, just like you would use red wine vinegar or white wine vinegar, or apple cider vinegar. You can make lavender vinegar, like nice herbal vinegars, garlic. I'm thinking of making, I have a friend who makes for her chickens vinegars out of oregano and garlic, because those are two things that are really good for chickens as well. I mean, our chickens need all the help they can get to keep healthy, stay healthy in this world. My poor chickens just really suffered over the summer because it was a really bad. They had a lot of issues with molting. It was a bad molt. You know, extreme heat. They're pretty good in most heat, but extreme heat is it's traumatic for them. So, I can add a little more. I can add a little more now. It's going down. Make sure it's pouring out. It's just very slow. It needs to go slowly though. That's okay. Some things can't be hurried. You don't want to do something like this when you're in a hurry to do something. And this vinegar had a lot of pulp in it. The oranges had a lot of pulp, so I might even take it for a third. I might even get a clean cloth and take it back into the larger. One more time through a cloth. So I want to get it all out of there. I've had people ask me when I'm doing kitchen witchery chores, such as making my vinegar or just cooking, if I think it matters which way I stir, etc. like that. Because I know I've even read a couple books on kitchen witchery that have said you don't ever want to stir widdershins because you're taking out. You always want to put intention in by stirring clockwise. I think if that's what you believe, then that's what you should do. For me, it is all about intention. It is all about my intention that I put into what I'm doing. And here, these are from oranges that I grew in my yard that have been here, part of our home since we've been here. I'm making the vinegars, for my home, to use in my home. I'm making vinegars to perhaps help me with my chicken's health too. So that's my intention that I put into this. So it doesn't really, to me, it's not determined by the direction that I'm stirring or not stirring. I know for some people that's really important, and that's good. And I think a lot of people, it might be a good way to make sure you keep sight of your intention. Not lose sight of what you're doing, not do it in a to do it in a meaningful way always is important, and I think that I agree. But I've been cooking for too many years and making some things for too many years for my family to worry about those kind of things. I cook all the time, every day, all the time. My husband and I are constantly doing things in the kitchen. We can't be bothered to only stir in one direction all the time or two. Those kind of things. You don't want your magic to limit your actions. If your magic is very limiting, if you give yourself too many rules to follow, you'll find yourself doing less magic. When you open yourself up and do things that come naturally to you, and do them in the way that feels natural and feels good and feels magical, you'll find yourself so much more productive, and you will find you'll have the best results. You'll receive the best results, I think. That's just what I think. Okay. We're just about through, and I'm up to the 2-cup measure. And then this is actually, we were up to the 6-cup measure I think about when we had with the kombucha and everything. So we're down to we're getting about 2 cups out of that jar. Considering all the pills are in there, I think that's pretty good. And again, you see how I'm just working my way? I don't know, I hope you can see that. I'm just rolling that back, making sure that I have a new place for the juice to filter through. Now you can use cheesecloth, you know, this cheesecloth that I've showed you in the past that you can buy in the grocery store. That's that very thin kind. I would use several thicknesses of that because it's pretty porous. You can use any open weavy kind of stuff. This is just cotton towels. I think I got these cotton towels at IKEA. You can almost see, I can see through them. There's little holes, little tiny holes in the weave that you can see through. That's what I'm looking for. Flour sack towels are excellent to use. Or you can use something like a paper filter, like a coffee filter would work as well. Which I do use coffee filters for some things, but sometimes coffee filters for something like this, at least to start out, it's going to clog up real fast. You're going to you can have trouble, unless you're doing a very, very small amount at a time. You can have trouble because it's going to want to stop going for you. The citrus, the pulp is going to really interfere with the draining too much. It's going to clog up too fast. But see, by using this big towel, by repositioning it constantly, I can find a clean area of the towel to do this. Now in an apple, when I'm doing apple cider vinegar, it's not ready to do today. But when I strain it, I don't have to put it through the towel. Just putting it through a fine mash is plenty. There's no pulp. Think of an apple and an apple peel. You don't get the pulp that you have in a citrus, that you have with a citrus fruit. Now, it seems like a lot of work. Some people are going to say, isn't this a lot of work when you can just go buy vinegar? But just keep in mind, I'm not going out and buying oranges. My oranges are on my trees. These are oranges that are rather old, surplus oranges from when I had some tree trimming done in the orange tree. But most people use just the peels when they have citrus, lemon peels, grapefruit peels, lime peels, orange peels. After they eat or use the citrus, or squeeze them, you peel an orange to eat it, or you just squeeze a lemon to get the lemon juice out. What do you do with the peel? There's a lot of goodness left in that peel. That's the idea. We're using something that we would normally throw out. So it's really free, other than a 1/4 cup of sugar, perhaps, maybe a 1/2 cup of sugar. For the price of that, we're getting some vinegar, which we can use for so many different things. The only time the vinegar takes time to make, but I don't have to sit and watch the vinegar make itself. It just is sitting there on my counter, making people curious or driving people crazy for all the time it was here. This vinegar, I think, can be used for making cheese as well. Like I said, you should not use this vinegar for canning purposes, or like I'm going to be making pickles. Probably tomorrow I'm going to be making some pickles. And I'm going to be using vinegar, but I'm not going to be using my own vinegar for those, because I really want a good, strong vinegar. Make sure I have a real good, strong vinegar. But I'm going to certainly try making cheese out of my vinegar. I don't think I want citrus cheese, but maybe. But we'll try and see, because I use lemon juice all the time when I make cheese. But vinegar is also good to use for making cheese. So this one, again, since I'm going to be washing this towel, I'm just wringing the bottom of it out. Okay. These things will all be washed before I use them again. When I go to do my peach, they'll be washed first before I do the peach. Okay, so I'm going to pour it in the smaller pitcher just because it's easier for me to handle. And And I ended up with about two and a half, just about exactly 2.5 cups of vinegar. So what I have behind me are bottles that I have saved from the apple cider vinegar or whatever that I've used, that I buy. We do buy like Bragg's apple cider vinegar. And I'm gonna just put this in, push this in here and see what I get. Here's the funnel. Now it's possible for me to develop another mother in here, or another, you know, just like we get in the Braggs, or even another SCOBY. It's possible. There we go. And now when I do the rest, I could just add to it, and I would make a new bottle. Then this will be absolutely marked. And if I want to use this for my cleaning vinegar, it's going to be, we'll put it in a spray bottle and use that for cleaning. And then that's that. Okay, now I'm going to try and see what happens when we decant the peach. Let me wash these things up. And this, of course, should be stored in a cupboard, like a dark cupboard. Like you would store any vinegar that you get from the store. You just store it in the back of a cupboard somewhere. But I'm going to fill it before I put it away. I'm going to try to check on my peach vinegar and see if it's ready. But I'm having a little issue because I'm looking at something that I'm not sure what it was. And I don't know if I have 2 peach vinegars or 2 apple vinegars or what. So I'm going to be looking for evidence. I'm going to try to see if I can tell what this is. I see a SCOBY on top, which I'm going to try to get out. You notice it's just a small SCOBY, but it's a SCOBY. See, here's a thin one. And notice I am not using, that's a lovely SCOBY. I give her my chickens. I'm not putting metal in here. I don't know why. I don't think it matters. Some people don't like it, and so I don't like it, but I'm looking to see what I could find in here. Evidence! Some things stay the same. It's a peach pits. I've got peach pits in the bottom. So I know this is peach. So I'm just going to, before I do anything, I'm going to check it and make sure it's okay. Right? So I'm going to get my pH strips and check the pH of this. And so you can see what's happening. You see they're already colored. Maybe you can see that. They're already colored, and when I dip that in there, that's the top one. Pay attention to the top one, which is very, very green. Blue, it's actually blue, which means it's about as alkaline as it can get. And I'm going to dip it in for a few seconds and see what color it turns. Okay. I'm going to look what happened to it right away. Right away it turned green. And I hold it up to my colors again, and I see very clearly 2.5. It's 2.5. 2.5 to 3.0. So very strong, good, strong peach vinegar. Good news. That's the good news. That's what I want. So I believe in this. I don't think I'm going to have pulp, but we're going to pour it into this one first and see what happens. And look at it. Pour it through here. And catch everything that goes. I might have a little bit of pulp. I might have a little bit. So I'm going to put it through a cloth as well. But I think this is going to be much easier. Now peach might be very delicious in a vinaigrette. Can you imagine that? Maybe more so, but a citrus would be too. The peach is more of a vinegary, I think, tasting. I didn't taste it. I should taste it and see what they taste like. But the fact is, I think my palate would just get messed up from one to the next, one to the next. So I'm just going to stir this, keep stirring this until it stops running out. And already you can see it's more of a peachy color. Maybe you can notice if this is not the way. More of a peachy color than this. See, that's more orange. This is more peach. I'm still going to make a label. I'm still going to put a label on this. And I'm going to date it, even though vinegar has a pretty good long shelf life. But since this is not made, I'm not manufacturing this with, all the bells and whistles of a commercial manufacturer, that I could ensure it for a long period of time. Okay, I'm just going to take that, put it in my garbage bowl, pardon me. And then I'm going to take this through the cloth. Let me take this to the cloth. I have another clean cloth that I'm going to pour through to see if I get any pulp. This is really not riveting television. I'm very sorry about this. But you were asking, people were curious, so I'm just going to show you. Not everything we do is exciting. But it's exciting to me. And we can see that flowing really nice and fast through the towel. So I don't think we're going to have much of anything to catch. And again, I should move that so you can see. See it pouring through? It pours through nice and freely, right? Now these peaches, remember, are leftover. What did I do with these? I made I know what. I don't think you saw me do this. I made a bourbon peach jam. And I had the pits. This is just from the peels and the pits of the peaches that I used for the jam. And when I peeled the peaches, I don't know if I mentioned, I peeled them with a paring knife rather than blanching the peaches and peeling them off like a lot of people do, because I wanted that little bit of peach left on the skins to help me with my vinegar. I knew I was going to try to make vinegar from it. Okay, it's kind of stopped, it slowed down, so I'm going to just move it on the towel a little bit. Sometimes just the towel being wet slows it down a little bit. Anyway, I have found the most satisfaction from trying to have zero waste. I mean, you can have zero waste, but I have found that I get a lot of satisfaction and I feel witchier. I feel like more of a witch if I am really careful with what I waste, because I feel that we're on the earth here. We need to keep our earth clean. We just need to be careful how we utilize what the earth is giving us, and be careful not to use toxic things or trying to reduce my amounts. Throw away. Every time we become such a throwaway society that we throw away everything. It's horrible. If you just look, maybe you don't notice it in an apartment building so much, but if you in your own home and you collect your own trash to put out for the pickup every week, especially places like where we live, in the cities where we live, we divide our trash into recyclable things that can be recycled, things that are green waste that can be taken and made into compost from the cities. They collect that, like things, yard trimmings, your grass and leaves and trimmings from bushes and trees. and recycle things like bottles and cans and those kind of things that can be recycled. And then actual trash. What is your actual trash that you want to throw away? And so many people, we notice it all the time here because we're giving these different colored cans. Their cans are just heaped over with stuff that they're throwing away. We try to have as little as possible. And I remember years ago when we would go away, if we would go away for a weekend or something, and we would forget if we were going to miss trash day, and it was too early for us to put the trash out and leave it out in front of the house, that when we came back, we had a real struggle for that next week with a family of 5 to make sure that we had enough room in the trash can to get all the trash from one week. That was years and years ago when the children were small. Now the children, of course, are gone, but I can see a definite reduction in the amount of trash my husband and I have now that we're gardening, and because we, of course, make our own compost, and we have chickens, so we feed a lot of things to the chickens. We have reduced so much the amount of things that we trash, that we even put out for the recycling, that we put out, because I try to reuse things. We try to reuse things, like these glass bottles that I'm showing. I do like to buy Bragg's apple cider vinegar, and I do like to buy white distilled vinegar, and I do like to buy red wine vinegar because we like that in our salads. But what do I do with the bottles? With the red wine vinegar bottles, we make those become my hot sauce bottles. I make hot sauce both red and green for myself and for gifts every year out of my garden. The hot sauce for a year. So I recycle all of those bottles. These bottles, the vinegar bottles, I'm putting vinegar in. I could also put tinctures in some of them. We try to reuse things as often as we can. And I find so much satisfaction in that. Even when remember I had the yogurt containers that I used when I was doing just simple crafts that I didn't want to use. I didn't want to put non-food items in my dishes when I was making like my magical chalk, or when I was making some of those things. I didn't, non-edible ingredients in those. So I didn't want to put graveyard dirt in the same bowl that I might eat, a salad out of, for instance. I don't want that would be sort of, yeah. So there's so much satisfaction in the recycling. Okay, this is absolutely, I'm just squeezing the bottom, get the last bit out, and it went through beautifully. There's hardly anything left, so this can go in the laundry. I can add this to here. It's gone through again. Remember, it went through one time alone, and then one time through the cloth. Take my lid off. Got a clean bottle here, and I'm gonna This is a pretty color. It looks just peachy. And I'm getting a full bottle out of that. I got my money's worth out of that one, didn't I? Look at that. Out of just the peaches, the peels and the pits that I made, that little bottles of jam out of. Get it all cleaned off. You can see a slight difference in the color between the orange and the peach, maybe. I can definitely see it, but that's not going to be, I can't go by that, because depending on the oranges, and it's going to be different. They're going to be different. Okay. I'm really happy. Of my jars, one of my jars ended up to be apples, so I have 2 jars of apple cider behind me still going. I'm going to take them on a little further. But I was so excited. I was so pleased. So out of 3 jars of orange and 1 jar of peach, I got 3 beautiful quart bottles of vinegar. And look at the color. I don't know if you can tell the color. This is the peach, and then these 2 are the orange. And I'm delirious really over the pH results of these. That I looked again, and I have people saying, a lot of other people I know are making vinegars, and they're saying if you can get a 3 or 3.5 or 3 acidity, pH, that's really good. And most commercial vinegars, white vinegars, and commercial apple cider vinegars that are 5% with 5% acidity have pH of 2.5, and I either had a 2.5 or a 2.75 for both of these vinegars. That's really exciting. So these two I'm going to be using for cleaning, all-purpose cleaning, in my kitchen and in my bathroom. And this one I'm going to peach vinegar. I'm not sure. I'm going to maybe use it for vinaigrette, or maybe I'm going to use it for hair rinse. We'll see. We'll see. It's a good strong vinegar, so I could use it for cleaning too as well. So we'll just see. I'm not going to make any decisions right now. But anyway, I thought you would like to know. So there we go. Anyway, let me know if you make some vinegar. Thanks for watching. I'm Rebecca, and I wish you blessings.